Buses and trains are full of strangers, and sometimes one of them stands out for the wrong reason. Story 1. The 2:14 a.m. owl service to Oakhaven is not a bus for the living. It is a purgatory on wheels, smelling of wet wool, ozone, and something cloying, like lilies left too long in a vase. I sat in the middle row, my knuckles white against my backpack straps. Outside, the city was a smear of rain-slicked neon, but inside, the bus was suffocatingly still. There were 3 other passengers. The man in the front row wore a coat that seemed to swallow the dim overhead light. He hadn't moved since I boarded. His head was tipped at an impossible broken angle against the window, his neck seemingly held together by fraying threads of scar tissue. Every time the bus hit a bump, his skull tapped against the glass. Thud, 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 a metronome for my rising panic. Behind me, a woman hummed. It wasn't a melody. It was a rhythmic, wet vibration, like someone trying to breathe through a throat filled with silt. She had been sitting there for 20 minutes, her hands folded primly in her lap, though I could swear I heard the faint metallic snick of knitting needles clicking together. When I risked a glance in the reflection of the darkened window, her seat appeared empty. I squeezed my eyes shut, blaming the exhaustion and the flickering fluorescent bulb above. "Next stop," the driver announced. His voice wasn't human. It sounded like dry leaves skittering across pavement. He didn't have a face in the rearview mirror, just a smooth, pale expanse of skin where features should have been. I stood up, my legs trembling. The bus lurched, swerving violently toward the shoulder. The man in the front row groaned, a sound of grinding bone, and his limp hand slid off the seat, revealing fingers that were much too long, ending in jagged, obsidian-colored nails. The woman behind me stopped humming. The silence was absolute, a heavy pressure against my eardrums. I could feel her presence now, right against the back of my neck. Her breath was cold, smelling of deep, undisturbed earth. "You aren't supposed to get off yet," she whispered. Her voice sounded like it was coming from inside my own skull. I didn't turn around. I bolted for the doors, my fingers clawing at the emergency release. The bus hadn't come to a full stop, but the doors hissed open, spilling me out into the biting midnight air. I hit the wet asphalt hard, skinning my palms, and scrambled backward as the bus roared to life. As it pulled away, the interior lights flickered out completely. I looked up one last time. Every window was pressed with pale, translucent palms. And there, standing in the back of the bus, was a figure identical to me, wearing my coat, staring back with eyes that were nothing more than empty, hungry voids. I am home now, but I haven't turned on the lights. I can hear the bus stopping outside my window again. It's early, but I think I've reached my destination. Story 2. The 3:14 a.m. owl service to Central Station is less of a transport route and more of a purgatory. I've taken it every night for a month, and tonight the train feels longer, the fluorescent lights pulsing with a sickly rhythmic hum that vibrates in my teeth. I was the only person in car 4 until we rattled past the industrial district. That's when the man in the charcoal suit got on. He didn't walk so much as arrive, appearing in the aisle as if he'd simply been folded into the air until the doors opened. He sat 3 rows behind me. I didn't turn around, but the reflection in the dark, rain-streaked window was unforgiving. He was motionless, not just still, statuesque. His hands rested on his knees, palms up, fingers curled like wilted spiders. The air grew heavy, smelling faintly of ozone and wet earth, like a grave freshly turned. I gripped the plastic armrest, my knuckles white. The train swayed, screeching against the tracks, but the man didn't lean with the momentum. He remained perfectly vertical, his head tilted at an impossible, unnatural angle. "Don't look," I told myself. "Look at the floor. Count the tiles." But the silence was the worst part. There was no rustle of fabric, no shuffling of feet, just the mechanical groan of the train and the sound of my own ragged breathing. I I risked a glance at the window again. He was closer. He hadn't walked down the aisle. He hadn't stood up, yet he was now 2 rows behind me. His eyes, if they could be called that, were milky voids reflecting nothing but the flickering neon of the passing city. He was smiling, but it wasn't a human expression. It was a horizontal tear in his face, showcasing teeth that looked like jagged shards of flint. I surged to my feet, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. "Is there a problem?" I managed to choke out, my voice cracking in the cavernous carriage. He didn't speak. Instead, he uncurled those spindly fingers. He pointed a long gray digit toward the ceiling, then toward the floor. The train lights cut out completely. In the sudden, suffocating dark, the silence broke. It was replaced by a sound that made my blood run cold. The wet, heavy slap of bare feet hitting the linoleum. Slap, slap, slap. Fast, too fast. He was moving toward me with the predatory grace of something that hadn't seen prey in a century. I sprinted for the door leading to the next car, my hands fumbling frantically for the latch. My fingers brushed something cold, unbelievably cold, as I pulled the handle. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I vaulted through the gap, slamming the heavy sliding door shut behind me. I collapsed against it, gasping, waiting for the impact of his body against the glass. It never came. I looked through the small reinforced window. The car was empty. The lights flickered back on, revealing nothing but rows of vacant, indifferent seats. But then I saw it, on the glass of the window I was leaning against. A handprint, damp and gray, left from the inside of the car I had just reached. He hadn't followed me. He was already waiting for me.